With Obama, we won an election that everyone said couldn't be won.
Obama dropped missiles and they ended up hitting a kindergarten. If that's the case, he's going to end up being indicted when he leaves office.
Obama he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't even mention them in his statements. It's all coming through Iran.
Well, you mean President Biden?
They were interviewing him 2 weeks ago, and they said, what would you advise President Obama? The whole world seems to be exploding. They never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down.
He was confused. He was confused the same way he said Joe Biden was going to start World War II.
We would be in World War II very quickly if we're going to be relying on this man.
Clearly, Donald Trump is not the same Trump from 2016.
When I came here, everyone thought Bush was going to win. They thought Bush because Bush supposedly was a military person. Great. You know what? He was a military. He got us into the Middle East. We came up with a new couple of words for corn. Viktor Orban, Hungary, very powerful. He fronts on both Russia and Ukraine. They were funding Hezbollah and Hamas.
When he gets off the teleprompter, there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of stream of consciousness stuff.
We're also going to place strong protections to stop banks and regulators from trying to debank you from your political beliefs, what they do. They want to debank you, and we're going to debank. Think of this. A very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. So Sioux City, let me ask you, how many people come from Sioux City?
Oh, good morning and welcome to Morning Show. It is Monday, January 22nd. Good to have you all here with us this morning. With us, we have.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, the Nikki Haley thing.
That one
was disturbing. We talked about this on Friday about Obama and his problems, and there was actually some poor guy who said, "Oh, they're making things up now to distract from Joe Biden." No, I'm not trying to distract from Joe Biden. Joe Biden's doing just fine. We're talking about the fact that time and time and time again, Donald Trump, who's obviously, as Ron DeSantis said, lost more than a step, and as Nikki Haley says, is really confused up there. And she says, well, our kids deserve better than somebody that doesn't know where they are or what they're doing. But you see him go through his speech and he struggles and he starts to say Obama, and then he cuts himself off because his mind's going, wait, is Obama really president still?
What decade am I in?
What decade am I in? And then he continues and he goes ahead and just says Obama's name because he can't remember Biden's name. And we had the same thing the other night where he goes, Nikki, Nikki, Nikki. He says it 3 times. And then he moves on thinking that, wait, but that doesn't sound quite right, but maybe that's right. And then he comes back and he accuses Nikki Haley of being Nancy Pelosi on January 6th. And we offered Nikki Haley. Think about this. Donald Trump saying we offered the former UN ambassador 10,000 troops. And she wasn't even there. She wasn't even government. And so the confusion just continues. So, I've spent a lot of time with Joe Biden. I can tell you, Joe Biden knows where he is. He knows what decades he's in. He sure as hell knows who he's running against. There's just really no comparison here. So, you want to talk about who's addled. This is an easy one. Let's talk about who's addled. And who's addled is the guy who can't even remember that Barack Obama hasn't been president of the United States in 8 years.
Yeah, and you have to think, is this age? It could be, but it also could just be the mountain of legal action against this man, just crushing him and making him so stressed that he's literally confused. Well, because no one person could handle all the cases that he has against him, all the lawyers he has to deal with, all the lawyers he can't get. Some of these cases put him away in prison for the rest of his life.
Except for the fact he's in 2016 most of the time. And even in 2016, he forgets who he ran against. He talks about the landslide victory against Barack Obama. Jonathan Lemire, let me bring you in here because I know you've been seeing this. Talks about the landslide against Obama. He talks about Obama so much as president of the United States that Brian Kilmeade on his radio show has to interrupt him and correct him. That's this whole lie on, oh, Trump's doing on. No, he's not. No, he actually, his mind is so, it's like scrambled eggs when he gets up there and he gets tired. He really thinks that he's running against Barack Obama. And just like he thought Nikki Haley was Speaker of the House on January the 6th.
Yeah, now, of course, he launched his political career on the back of the racist lie of birtherism, which, of course, involved Barack Obama. Much of his 2015-2016 campaign was against the Obama-Hillary Clinton, axis of the Democratic Party. But I think a couple things are at play here. First of all, anyone who spends any time with Trump, his closest advisors acknowledge he's sort of almost, fossilized with 2016, that bug preserved in amber, if you will, because 2016 was that sort of definitive race for him. And even in 2020, he would repeat word for word stories on the campaign trail that he told 4 years before. In many ways, he's just never moved past 2016, because he thought that was going to be his whole political career, because he didn't expect to win, and it was all about that campaign. And then he's been sort of still in that moment ever since. And we're also seeing clearly increased signs of confusion, age, pressure, as Mika said, probably playing a role as well. These slip-ups are happening more and more. Let's be clear, Trump has been doing this for a long time, but because he gives us so much a fire hose of not just falsehoods and lies, but mistakes, they kind of just blow past everybody. And what's happened here is that some of them have been so profound and so noteworthy, people are focusing on them. And that's what happened these last couple of days, Joe and Mika. His mixing up Nikki Haley for Nancy Pelosi, Haley then
it's
maybe
hard to miss.
Right, too little too late perhaps for a campaign, but she really seized on that. The Biden White House did as well, even saying that President Biden tweeting that he and Nikki Haley don't agree on much, but they both can agree on one thing, that she's not Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So